Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is May 14th, 2025. It is the 134th day of the year. There are exactly 231 days left in 2025. It's your 20th Wednesday in your 20th week and the 56th day of spring. There are 37 days left until summer. Tell you what, here in Portland, Oregon, I'm just outside, the rain just doesn't want to let us go this year. We've had rain for the last 3 days. May usually signals the end of it, maybe a couple scattered showers here or there, but it's been raining hard for the last couple days. All right, let's see what else May 14th has given us. 1804, William Clark and 42 men depart Camp Dubois to join Meriwether Lewis at St. Charles, Missouri, marking the beginning of the Lewis and Clark expedition's historic journey up the Missouri River. Now, this one baffles me. There was supposed to be a really good movie, I'd say about 10-15 years ago, about the Lewis and Clark expedition. There was one back in like 2005 that was called Lewis and Clark: The Journey West. That was basically a made-for-TV movie. But this one was supposed to be an epic movie. I think at one point, Russell Crowe, at his height, was involved in it, and it was supposed to be really good. Then it got shelved. Broke my heart. I was really looking forward to it. Great story. If you don't know anything about Lewis and Clark, it's worth reading about. 1863, the Battle of Jackson, Mississippi. The Union comes a-knockin'. In the thick of the American Civil War, Union General Ulysses S. Grant was busy executing his plan to take control of the Mississippi River, a move that would split the Confederacy into two and cripple the supply lines. The key to this strategy was to capture the heavily fortified city of Vicksburg, but before he could take that prize, he had to deal with the Confederate General Joseph E. Johnston in nearby Jackson, Mississippi. The Battle of Jackson wasn't the bloodiest or longest of the war, but it was strategically vital. Johnston, a respected and cautious general, had only recently arrived in Jackson to organize the defenses and hopefully reinforce Vicksburg. Unfortunately for him, Grant wasn't going to give him the time. Union forces under the direct command of General William T. Sherman and General James B. McPherson launched a two-pronged attack on the city. The Confederates didn't stand much of a chance. They were outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and Johnston pulled his troops out after some light skirmishing and left the city to the Union. On May 14, 1863, Union troops entered Jackson and didn't exactly treat it with kid gloves. Factories, supply depots, and anything remotely useful to the Southern war effort was torched. The message was clear. This wasn't just a military campaign, it was total war. Taking Jackson cleared the way for Grant to swing west and tighten the noose around Vicksburg. 1925, Mrs. Dalloway, one of Virginia Woolf's earliest and best-known novels, is published. That is a classic book. I read it, the late 80s. I went on this kick of reading classic literature, and that was like one of the first ones I picked up. Great book, if you ever get a chance. 1953, about 7,000 brewery workers in Milwaukee perform a walkout, marking the start of the 1953 Milwaukee brewery strike. 1961, the Civil Rights Movement. One of the most violent and defining moments of the Freedom Riders campaign unfolds on May 14, 1961, near Anniston, Alabama. The Freedom Riders, an interracial group of civil rights activists, were riding buses into the Deep South to challenge segregation in interstate bus terminals, a practice ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court in 1960, a year before. The goal was to peacefully test whether Southern states were complying with the ruling. Spoiler, they weren't. As the Greyhound bus approached Anniston, a white mob, organized and waiting, surrounded the station. The angry crowd slashed the bus's tires and shouted threats. Law enforcement either turned a blind eye or offered minimal resistance. Now, the bus was allowed to leave, but only temporarily. Just a few miles outside of Anniston, the deflated tires forced the bus to stop. That's when the mob struck again, this time more viciously. They firebombed the bus. They smashed windows and threw flaming rags soaked with gasoline inside the bus. The Freedom Riders, trapped in the smoke and heat, nearly died. As flames spread, some riders managed to escape through broken windows, but the mob was waiting for them with baseball bats, chains, and fists. A few riders were beaten as they crawled out of the wreckage. The only thing that kept the attackers from murdering the passengers on the spot was an exploding fuel tank, which scattered the crowd in fears of a larger blast. Everyone went home when stuff started blowing up, I guess. The event horrified many Americans and exposed just how violent and deeply rooted racism still was in the South. Despite the attack, the Freedom Riders fires didn't stop. Reinforcements came, more buses followed, and their courage helped pressure the federal government into finally enforcing desegregation laws on interstate travel. This was really a turning point that lit a fire under the civil rights movement's butts and exposed the South's dirty secret to the rest of the country and the world, really. 1973, Skylab, the United States' first space station, is launched. Now this got pretty interesting. On July 11th, 1979, Skylab came back to Earth. And as you can imagine, this was an international media event. This is before internet, so we had TV, and that was about it. So we were always looking for something to have fun with. There were t-shirts and hats with bullseyes on them, and one dude was selling Skylab repellent with a money-back guarantee. There was wagering on the time and place of re-entry, and the nightly news reported on this. The San Francisco Examiner offered a $10,000 prize for the first piece of Skylab delivered to the office, and the rival San Francisco Chronicle offered $200,000 if the subscriber suffered personal or property damage. But originally, NASA said that this is just all going to burn up in the atmosphere and there won't be anything really hitting the ground. Didn't work out that way. The debris landed about 300 miles east of Perth in Western Australia. In 2005, Don Lind, who was an astronaut and part of the Skylab program, confirmed that there was never any property damage or human damage. Nobody got hurt by this. 2022, 10 people are killed in a mass shooting in Buffalo, New York. That one sucked. Guy just went to a grocery store and started pulling the trigger on people. Had all kinds of racial slurs written on his gun and his clothes. It was ridiculous. The perpetrator got a life sentence for each of the 10 victims he had killed. And on top of that, 25 years for each of the 3 victims he shot and wounded. So this coward's not getting out of jail. Ever. He pled guilty, I think, to spare himself the death penalty. Died on May 14th, 2019, we lost Tim Conway, American actor, writer, and comedian. His timing, his comedy timing, was amazing. Many of you probably remember him from the Carol Burnett show, but he did a lot of Disney movies and things like that. He was great. In later years, he was doing voice work for SpongeBob SquarePants. In September of 2018, Vince Waller, a producer on SpongeBob SquarePants, commented that when Conway was recording dialogue for the seagull that he played in the SpongeBob movie, he was having trouble recording due to his health issues. These issues led to his complete retirement from acting in 2016. He was suffering from dementia, and Tim Conway finally passed away on this date in 2019 at the age of 85. Premiered on May 14th, 1982, Conan the Barbarian. A vengeful barbarian seeks justice against the evil warlock who killed his family and attacked his village when he was a child. John Milnes wrote and directed this film. Not a lot of people know John Milnes. He's kind of a forgotten figure in a lot of situations. But he has done some of the greatest movies that you've ever seen. He did 2 or 3 of the Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry movies. He did Uncommon Valor with Gene Hackman. He did the Evel Knievel movie, Used Cars, which was hysterical, back in like the late 70s. He co-wrote Apocalypse Now, Farewell to the King. If you ever get a chance with Nick Nolte, 1989, Farewell to the King, he did that. And of course, 2 of his greatest movies ever, the original Red Dawn and Big Wednesday. I love Big Wednesday. Probably watched it 20 times in my life. But he did Conan the Barbarian, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Earl Jones, and a handful of other people you've probably never heard of. John Milnes wrote and directed this movie, while he co-wrote it with Oliver Stone. Conan was filmed in Spain. Yeah, they used the drier areas of Spain to make it look like a desert thing. Great movie. Alright, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give the video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to leave me a comment. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.